Hi YouTube. So today I wanted to make a video more for people who have a friend or a family member, coworker, whatever it is, someone who's dealing with an anxiety disorder, a panic disorder. Just sort of a general guide for you to understand better how to help someone and maybe things not to say to someone who is dealing with this disorder. So obviously, having anxiety, having panic is incredibly stressful. It's confusing, it's scary, and the person that's having to be with that person who's having that episode doesn't always know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to react. And, generally, I find people just want to help. They want to know that you're okay. They want you to just be calm and know that you're fine. But yeah, it can be really challenging. Like, what do you say in that moment? How do you help someone who is, seems to be freaking out about nothing? Like I've had times where I'm laying on the floor hyperventilating and crying and telling my friends that I'm pretty sure my heart isn't working, and they're looking at me panicked thinking like, what am I supposed to do for you right now? Like, do I need to call an ambulance? Like, what's happening? Are you okay? So it can be really scary. I totally get that. But there are definitely things that, are more helpful than others. And there are some things you can say and do that are more hurtful than helpful. So one of the things that bothers me the most when I'm having anxiety is when someone says to me, why don't you just relax? Like, just calm down. Everything's fine. Like, just calm down. Well, if it was as simple as just calming down or just relaxing, I would absolutely do that. Believe me, this isn't fun for me. I'm not enjoying myself. If I was able to just calm down, I absolutely would. So saying those sorts of things aren't helpful, and it hurts. I remember when people say those things to me, and it makes me hesitant to talk about my anxiety with them, and sometimes makes me hesitant to hang out with that person because I think, well, what if I have an anxiety attack? What if I have a panic attack and I'm with this person who just doesn't get it? Then how do I explain to them how I'm feeling and what's going on when I know they're looking at me thinking, why are you doing this to yourself? And that's another one. Why are you doing this to yourself? It's all in your head. You are doing this. Okay, that hurts. That is a really hurtful thing to have said to you, especially in that moment when your world is crashing down around you, to have someone say to you, you are doing this. You can stop this. I understand where that statement comes from. I understand the intention behind the statement. Unfortunately, when you're saying that, it makes us feel like you have no idea what we're going through. You have no idea how to help us. And that makes me, personally anyway, feel very unsafe. It makes the anxiety or the panic feel even worse because I feel like you're not there for me. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. And if something really bad does happen, I can't trust that you're going to help me. So again, I know that, yes, it's a mental disorder. Yes, there are definitely times when I work myself up. I make my anxiety worse. Yes, there are times that I am doing it to myself. But knowing that doesn't make the symptoms go away. It doesn't make the feelings go away. Like I've said before, there's this part of me telling myself it's just anxiety and you're going to be fine. But then there's the other part of me saying, yeah, but what if it isn't this time? So you sitting there saying, well, you're doing this to yourself. I'm thinking, cool, so you think I'm crazy and I can't talk myself out of this. So, I'm just hurting myself and it's not going to get better. So, try not to say things like that because it's not helping anything. I find for me, when I'm in that moment, when I'm in that state, I have a really hard time concentrating. on what other people are saying to me. So when someone is asking me a lot of questions like, well, when did this start? And why do you think this is happening? And what was going on? And, well, what do you need me to do? You know, when someone's saying those things and asking those questions, to me, it's very overwhelming. So I feel like, look, I'm already dealing with my possible, death at the moment. So having you, saying these things, I feel like you're just talking at me. And it's very confusing and very stressful. So now I feel like not only am I dealing with my anxiety, but now I'm being forced to answer, these questions that you have. I think like asking those sorts of questions are great. It's great to understand where someone's anxiety is coming from. It's great to understand their triggers, and it's like awesome to know what you can do to help them. But that's the kind of conversation you need to have when they're not having anxiety, when they're not panicking, when they're in a state where they're able to think and explain and reason. I don't know what that was. But when they're able to talk to you, that's when you need to ask those questions. In the moment, not a good time. Another thing that I find can be a little bit stressful is having someone say, well, what do you need? What can I do for you? What do you need me to do? Like, I don't know. I don't know what I need you to do right now. I mean, I'm dealing with this doom, and, I don't know what's going to help. I don't know what to tell you. Like, even if they're, it's not that I don't know the things that help me, but in the moment, I couldn't possibly think of anything that's going to make this feel better. So, what I find really helpful is if they need a glass of water, that they just need a cold cloth on the back of their neck. That what they need is some fresh air, or to just do some stretching or some breathing exercises. I find the best thing that you can do is just do it for them. You're like, okay, they obviously need a drink of water right now. Just go get them that water and hand it to them. If there's someone who does take medication for these things, just go get their medication, put it in their hand, get them the water and be like, here you go, take this. Or if they need that cold cloth, just go get it. Go get the cold cloth, put it on the back of their neck. Maybe just rub their shoulders a little bit, or stroke their hair, or whatever it is that calms them down. Just do that thing for them. I find like with my boyfriend now, he's really getting to understand my anxiety, my triggers, the things that are really helpful. And it took a long time. I mean, I'm not going to say it happened overnight. There was a long period where he really just didn't understand why I was doing this to myself. So now, though, whether I can explain it or not, like sometimes I can be like, hey, like I'm having some anxiety right now. I know that that's what it is, but I'm still really feeling really tight in the chest, my pulse just feels a little bit off, I'm really hot, like whatever it is, and instead of him saying, well, what do you need or what do you want, he says, you know what, let's do some stretches together. Great. Or he gets me that glass of water, or he says, let's go for a walk, or, just having me do something or getting me something instead of asking about it is really helpful. Another thing that I find for me, and this isn't necessarily going to work for everyone, of course, like you need to know the person that you're dealing with, but for me, I find, especially when I'm panicking, I'm in a really very elevated state, and I'm having a really hard time coming down. So I need someone to be a little bit more forceful with me, like not angry, not being a jerk, not being like physically aggressive with me, but I need someone who's going to be like, drink this water, instead of just like, here, I got you some water. I personally need you to say, you need to drink this water right now, or you need to lay on the floor and do your breathing exercises. Like, sometimes that's really helpful to me because like I said, I'm all crazy in my head. So I need to hear something a little bit more assertive. So again, that's not going to work for everyone. No, not everyone's going to react okay to that. It's just, for me, I find someone giving me instructions, it takes the pressure off me to have to think about what I need to do. And, I don't know, there's just something about when I'm feeling really anxious, if someone's like, hey, do this, something that's going to help me, not just like some random thing, obviously. But, that to me kind of snaps me out of it a little bit. Like, it may not take it away, of course, but it'll kind of bring me back down to earth. Like, oh yeah, there is someone else here, and there is someone who's trying to help me. I think the most important thing you can do, though, if you are living with or dealing with someone who has this disorder, is to just educate yourself. Whether you want to go to a class or read a book, just talk to that person, or, do a quick internet search, whatever. Like, learn about the disorder, learn about where it comes from, learn about the triggers, learn, all that you can about it. Because the more you know about a situation, the more capable you are to help deal with that situation. And again, everyone's different. Everyone has different reasons, different triggers, different reactions. So that's why it's important to really get to know the person that you're dealing with. Like I said, when they're not in an anxious state, talk to them and be like, look, let's talk about your anxiety. Let's talk about where this is coming from. And, try to not be judgmental. Try not to be frustrated. Try to just listen and understand. And, if someone who has a disorder like this says to you, you don't have it, so you don't understand, don't take it personally. That's not a personal attack against you. That's not trying to say you're stupid and you couldn't possibly get it. All we're saying is, unless this is something that you have personally dealt with, you're not going to fully understand what it feels like to be in our position. You can understand the disorder. You can understand triggers and treatments. Like, you can read all about it and understand it, but you don't get it. It's like anything. Like, I can learn all about cancer. I can know everything there is to know about cancer, but I don't know what it feels like to be someone with cancer. So for me to be like, no, I totally get it. Like, well, no, I don't, So, and it's the same with this, and there's people that are like, oh, well, I get really nervous when I have to talk in front of a large group. And yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't, right? But getting nervous about doing something and just feeling like, oh, I don't know, I've got some butterflies, isn't the same as, oh my God, if I have to stand in front of that room, I'm actually going to throw up and pass out. Like, I can't do this, and now my body's physically shaking. It's different. And they're similar, of course. It comes from the same place, but it's not the same thing. So yeah, just try to educate yourself, try to understand it as best you can, and just be compassionate. Understand that what we're going through is serious and it's real. Just because it's not something that you see on the outside doesn't mean there isn't a fucking battle going on in our heads. It's a really difficult disorder to deal with. It's a difficult disorder to talk about, to explain to people. Half the time, we don't understand it. So it's really difficult for us to try to help you understand it. So, try not to get too frustrated with us. And again, I know that it is frustrating. It is a challenge dealing with someone with anxiety. Before I had anxiety, I didn't get it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand when my mom was telling me that, she tried to go to her friend's house and she could barely get out of the car because she was hyperventilating and crying and she just couldn't go inside. To me, I'm thinking, that's crazy, Mom. I didn't take the time to try to understand it. And, you live and you learn. I wish that I had been better for her in the beginning. But, now obviously I do understand, and we're both there for each other, which is great. But just try to be educated, try to be passionate, try to be compassionate, and, just understand that this is difficult for us. It's difficult for you. Now put yourself in our shoes. It's tough. So being frustrated or being angry with us, even if in your head you are, try not to let that show on the outside, because that's only going to make it worse. It's not going to help anything. And, just have those conversations with people. Try to understand them. Don't just brush it off and think, oh, well, it's over now. We don't have to think about it again, because you're going to have to think about it again the next time it happens. So take the time, educate yourself, and, thank you to those of you that are there for us and that are trying to help, because we can't do this alone. We do need your support, and it is very much appreciated. So hopefully, I don't know what that is. So hopefully that you found this a little bit helpful or, insightful in some way. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, stories you want to share, I really love hearing them. I love talking to people about this. I mean, this is something that basically consumes my life. So it's nice when I can have those conversations with other people. So anyway, leave me a comment, like the video, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.